go ahead and get started. So this is the Thinkorswim platform. This is your home screen when you first log in. I know quite a few people are still using Robinhood or Webull, things like that. I think those are great. I like Thinkorswim particularly because it has a lot of tools that I use when I don't have time to sit at my computer to trade. So what I'm going to go through is some basic setup things that I really like. And then we'll get into more of some of those things, that those tools that I use and those automatic orders that I set up when I want to swing trade. And I want to make sure that if my stop is hit, that happens, or being able to just add in, take profits and trail stops. So we'll go over a few different order types that you may not have seen or just aren't familiar with in the other platforms. So first things first, again, this is just this homepage. I'm not a big fan of the way it looks. So gonna click monitor and it'll get rid of a lot of those things that you'll see. But if you do want to keep any of that, knowing open time and the trader TV, that's all on their home screen, top right. So I'll go back to monitor here. This that you see on the side here, you can customize this over here. And I can add or take away any of the values that I may want to see. And only the relevant ones will show up. So while this has so many here on this side, you notice that there are only these 3 or 4, but just to customize and show you what it looks like. If I go to remove item and then I click OK, you see it's removed from here. Live news, I personally, this can be overwhelming. So I like to just go ahead and get rid of that. So we're going to click these 3 lines here, go to delete gadget, and more things are just going to keep popping up. The trader TV, completely optional. Again, I don't like it. I'm going to get rid of that. Quick chart. This is something that can be okay if you want to just keep an eye on SPY or the ES futures. But I personally find it way too small to be useful. And I'll show you how to get multiple charts on a little later. So for now, I'm gonna also delete this, but you do have the option to move it around if you like, and you can change the time frame and all of that under these 3 lines, the same way you would adjust one of your larger charts. So for now, then this is my watch list area. If I want to add watch list, let's say this is just the cheap trades, but I want to add another one. It's going to be specifically for, let's say, top 10% gains in NASDAQ. It'll auto-populate. Then to customize that, again, the 3 lines. You can detach, switch, move it around as much as you want to. And then we'll talk about the symbol link in a moment. So that's a lot just for your basic home page. Let me get some tools in the chat if that all made sense. If y'all still rocking with me so far. Do we have any questions so far on just this part specifically, just on setting up your home page and what we wanted to see before we move into setting up our trade tab? So gonna move into our trade tab. To clear this over on this left side, we just have this little arrow here. I'm gonna go ahead and click that, and whatever values I had at that top left, they're just gonna pop up across the top here. So again, if I pop that open, they're here. But then when I go to close it, it'll show across the top here. And yeah, we're getting this one recorded this time for sure. So I'm gonna click on the trade tab. Let's do one we all know. Gonna click in the SPY, our basic options chain. This has all of the available dates here. If we scroll down to the bottom, something that I like, option statistics, general idea of, are people more bearish, more bullish, but I'm just cautious of overusing this. But what I do like to see is traded at ask or above, meaning people were trying really hard to get into the position. This every now and then, not something that I lean on too heavily, but really nice for confluence. So then more about being able to set up how you like it, what you want it to look like, what that's going to be. Up here, you have your layout, you have your spread type if you want to switch this over to spreads. Then across the top, your last, your bid, your ask, things like that. Then your volume, opens, high, lows, cool. Strike prices, or I'm sorry, number of strikes. You can customize this to whatever you want it to be. So the options 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 are all. But if I want to, I can just type in a number. Let's say I want to see 20 or I want to see 23. Cool. And that way it'll just show me the number of strikes that I want to see. Let's make this 15. Cool. But open that. So we currently have last price, net change, bid and ask. This isn't what I personally enjoy seeing when I'm trading. So I'm going to go to layout. I want to see my Greeks, but I do also want to see some of those other bits, the last and net change, things like that. So I'm just going to go down here to customize. This has last and net change. I also want to see my delta. I'm just going to type that in and hit add. I want to see my theta. And I also want to see my option code. Perfect. So again, this is completely customizable. So if there's anything in particular you just really like to see, you can add them in here, and then I'll show you where they'll pop up after. Then, of course, if you want to see any of this, your high, your implied volatility, intrinsic value, last purchase price, things like that. Gonna click OK. Cool. Now I have all of this up top. And then if you want to change the order of it, you will go back in, go to customize, and then you will just add them in a different order or move up, move down. For me personally, option code, I want that for my Greeks. So then it's going to put my Greeks to the far left, then everything else going in. Not a whole lot else to see on this screen until we start getting into specific order types. Let's see. We're going to go to charts. So one thing about this, as we're being able to move through, I know a lot of people really, really like TradingView because the charts are just prettier, honestly. Okay, so Jay Black was asking why I like seeing the options code. That's something that I'll get into in just a second. But in general, I'll show you how I go through it, but I use options code because sometimes I want to track options price of something that I've never traded before. So if I see a really, really good idea, but I'm just not too confident about that thing in particular, or it's on a stock I've never traded before, what I'll do is I'll watch to see if the idea played out, and I'll watch the options code. I'll use the options code to watch the option premium and how it moves in relation to that move. So it lets me know if it's worth it to add this thing to my watch list for the next time it may make a big move or not. And yeah, that part just kind of comes down to strategy. So the options code is used in a few different ways, and I'll show how we can see it in the chart and how we can use it for our active trader while I'm going through this charting area. So right now, my candle is all the way to the far right. It's the standard, red and green, some hollow, some filled in, whatever. I'm not a big fan of this. So what we're going to do is going to go to style, settings, and this is going to bring up everything. So general, if I want to see price bubbles, last price, things like that. And price bubbles are referring to what you see over here. Extend order and alert lines. So once we put in an order, it'll show on our chart. Price axis. So our expansion area is how much empty space we have to the top, bottom, left, or right. So in this case, I'll put 5% up, 5% down, just to give myself a little room, top and bottom. Time axis, the expansion area bars to the right is super important to me because I don't like when it's so smashed up against the far right that I can't access, really, that I can't do the rest of my drawings. I like to set this to 20. Then you have the choice to see corporate actions on the chart. Completely up to you on that one. Favorite time frames. This is one I definitely recommend getting into. I don't trade on a 1-minute chart. I'm going to delete that. I do like a 5-minute chart. Don't use a 15 very often. Delete that. 30. Don't bother with it too much, but I'll leave it. The hour for sure. 4-hour, not as much. 1 year, 1 day, 3-year week. Then I definitely want to see the month chart. So I'm going to add a custom time frame. Going to go to custom, daily, and I want 5 years. Aggregation period is what the time frame you want to see. So do I want to see 1-day candles, 2-day candles, 3-day candles? Right now, I'm looking for month candles. Time interval is how much time I want to see on the chart by default. So this, if I save this as a favorite time, this, whenever I click into the month, it's going to show me 1-month candles and up to 5 years of that. So we'll add that here. Appearance, if you want to make it pretty, let's say we want it blue and purple. We're going to mix that up. So in appearance is where you can change the chart colors. Then you can also get rid of that background and handle some of the volume if you want to change the color of that as well. A lot of this stuff isn't necessarily super helpful unless there's like color theory and things like that behind it. But a lot of people don't necessarily get into that stuff, but this just gives you the option to switch it up as you choose. So we've made quite a few changes. So I just want you to see what it looks like right now. I haven't applied any of those changes. Then when I click OK, click apply, click OK. Now we see the difference, all the differences I applied. I have space on the right, and a little space above, a little space below. It's showing me what the high was for this time period available on the chart. And then I have my last close. That makes sense to everybody. Let me get some tools in the chat if that makes sense. Feel free to ask any questions on this part because the charting part is definitely where you have so many options to customize. Solid, solid. Now we have a few things here on this side tab. You have your active trader. Okay. So I'm going to take this up to a day chart. And so it kind of just smashes everything up when I do that. So I can still make the adjustments here. And if that doesn't work, then we can just completely remove volume from the chart. But what I want to do is this. I'm going to use my mouse at the bottom just to stretch it out. Let me switch it to. Your tools and your cursors are down here at the bottom right of your chart. A little hand allows you to move it like your mouse when you're inside trading view if you use that platform. This over here is Active Trader. So what Active Trader does is it allows you to see when market is open, volume, buy orders, sell orders, things like that. You can also trade directly from Active Trader. So let's say I want to buy SPY if it goes above 501. I can buy here and I will click into there. I still need to confirm, but I can just click here in the Active Trader or sell. And where that says sell 100 stop, I can set the amount myself. It doesn't have to be 100. It doesn't need to be 10. It can be 1, 5, whatever you want to choose. Getting into this a little bit more. I talked earlier about options code. I like to use them together. I use options code within my active trader, and I also use the options code for the analyze tab. So I'm gonna go back. So I want to buy for May 17th. I'm going to right click the options code and copy it. I'm gonna go over to my chart and I'm gonna paste that inside. So now let's actually close this down briefly. So what you're seeing on the chart here is not the price of SPY on the day. This is the 5-minute chart for the SPY May 17th, 503 call. So you can actually use that options code within the chart to check and see how it did based on today's price action. So I want to just compare. All right, this clearly tells me, knowing this is a call, all right, cool, market dropped. And then market went up a little bit, then it dropped some more and went back up, and then it dropped and then went back up. So I didn't trade today. There was only one thing I was watching. I didn't get that notification. My order didn't automatically send through because it didn't happen. Cool. But even without looking at the other chart, I can tell what happened. Just from watching this. Here's where this comes into play. Let's say I was day trading. So I want to go back to typing in SPY. I'm looking at the one for April 22nd, 500 puts. So let's say today I want to look at the 500 puts. Like, all right, things gonna keep going down. They pop up a little bit, go down, whatever, cool. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the chart. I'm gonna paste the option code for the 500 put for the end of the week. And yeah, I'm watching it go. I'm gonna pop open my active trader though. What you see here in blue is the volume. This will tell me where there are orders, where there are the limit orders for people to buy this 503. I'm sorry, this 500 put. And I see we still got some things going outside our normal trading hours. But let's say I'm day trading, and I want to catch right on the penny. So spot hits my trigger, and I would just go to buy market, sell market right here from my active trader. And you'll also see where it pops up the quick keys as I move this over. So I can also just set up my own quick key so it'll put in the buy order for me as we're going. This is a great way that you can use the options code here. Great way to just use the active trader. And if you're using something else to chart and you don't want to see this, you just want the active trader to be able to put your orders in quick, I can click so the chart goes away and I can look at nothing but the active trader. And this will let me buy market, sell market for the 500 put for end of the week. So it's helped when there's a trigger and then a really big move shortly after. I found this to be a little bit faster than just going into the trade tab, clicking buy or sell, and then doing that. Checking everything, cool. Now, if I already have it all loaded up, I already know what I want to buy for the day, then that is what it is. So Philmatic asks, how do you change the amount of contracts from 10 as a default? Go to charts. You're going to click this gear icon that's at the top. This is going to allow you to configure buttons. This is one side. So this is how you change the set of buttons. Let's say I don't want buy market, sell market, cancel, reverse, flatten, whatever. Quantity, cool. So I'm actually going to do that from up top. I'm clicking around quite a bit. I'm trying to pop open the second line. So this is your quantity set. So cool. That's one way. I want to clarify something here about being able to confirm in active trader though. You have the option to turn off confirmations in active trader. If you want to, you can do it from this confirmation screen. You can also do it from the settings in active trader. For most of us, I do not recommend it. Because if you're using quick keys and you've turned off the confirmation, that doesn't always go very well. I'll just say that. So to show again, this is your active trader screen. You're gonna go over here and you can change the quantity from right here. You can click the auto send button, again, completely up to you, depending on what your strategy is or how you plan on using it. But your buy market and sell market, you can go down to 1. You go 100, 300, 500, 1,000, 2,000. Cool. One of my absolute favorite things, because I like to put in automatic orders, but I want to be able to analyze as much as possible. I'm going to go back to the trade tab. I'm going to copy the 500 call. Cool. So I copied the option code. I'll go back to chart, go back to trader, pop that in here. Cool. I can see what it's done previously on this side if I want to look at that 500 call for the end of the week. But if I want to see what it might do later on in the week or kind of looking out to plan a trade for later on, I'm gonna go back to trade, SPY. Cool. That same 500, instead of going to bid or ask, honestly doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna right click one and I'm going to go to analyze. Let's say I want to buy it. These are different types of spreads, but for most of us, we're just going to be looking at a single. So this is saying I want to analyze a buy trade for a single contract on the SPY 500 call. I'm going to click single. This will take you to the analyze tab. The fundamentals is going to pop up first, but what I want to look at is risk profile. So auto is set to 10. Let's bring it down to 1 just so we can check prices. Being able to read through this, one contract for SPY for the end of this week at 500, it's going to cost me 405. Cool. That's just what the price is, whatever. We can lock it if market is open and we don't want it fluctuating and we want to analyze at our limit price. So the chart that we are currently looking at, these squares down here in the corner, or this square, the purple line is today. The blue line is expiration. Thinkorswim is always going to show the expiration as the day after whenever the contract expires. So this chart says for today, no market's closed, but let's just do tomorrow. Cool. I'm going to change this date. Plus, make it tomorrow. Or if I want to go out a few days, the expiration. Or let's say I'm looking at something much further out, then I can actually click through the calendar. But I want to look at what this is going to look like the day before expiration. Let's stretch this out a little bit. And this is going to show dollar profit, not percentage, like some of the other tools we've talked about. But let's say the day before expiration, it gets up to 505. This tells me that I'll make $153. I personally really like this when I'm planning out trades for a little bit later on. So I know what I can expect as I'm moving through and as I'm putting in my automatic orders, which is what we talked about quite a bit last time. And I made a brief video about it, but just to get into it a little more. So cool if it gets to that 505.06 mark, then I'll make $160 the day before. But let's say it gets there faster. Let's say it gets there tomorrow, gets to 505. Cool. I'll make $257. And I can stretch this out and get as granular as I want to about it. So right now, the bottom is showing me whole dollars. Now it's showing me the whole and a half. And I can go all the way down to the 10-cent mark if I'm making quicker trades. You know, if I want to reset, just double click the bottom or move it around as you see fit. All right. So, let's see. From here, move into those orders that we talked about. So this is one of the main. So Mark asks, does the Analyze tab adjust as market conditions change? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But take it with a grain of salt still, because this is telling you what may happen at a later point in time based on current conditions. So even though it does change as time goes on, what actually happens, that's between you and markets guy daddy. But as we move through, so in the trade tab, cool. When you go to buy or sell, this thing's gonna pop up here at the bottom. This is just your order entry tool. Few things we need to be aware of to start with. This is showing you kind of the center of the range. And this can be helpful if you're trading something that has less volume and has a wider spread. It gives you a pretty decent idea of where you should place your order if you're placing a limit order. Then for advanced order, I'm going to click here right now. It'll be default set to single. We have blast all if I want to put in multiple orders at once. First trigger is the rest. First trigger is all. First trigger is all, meaning that anything that comes after it is not going to happen until if you set them up in a certain order. None of them are going to go through unless the first one goes through. This means the rest of the orders will go through after the first one goes through. Then OCO stands for one cancels the other. We're going to show you how to use this one, particularly for setting stops and take profits for automated orders. And this blast all option. Okay. So right now I'm going to leave it as single. Let's say I already bought this SPY call. So I'll see it up here in my working orders. It's fine. I'll go back to trade. Then I want to do a sell order, or I want to set it up to sell when it hits my profit target or my stop loss. I'm going to come in and check that the quantity is correct. I'm going to check the date is correct, all the things, just checking your details as you need. Then I'm going to click this little gear over here on the far right. Ooh, we checked these details earlier. We have a few options for as we're setting up these orders. I can set it up for it to buy or sell when it hits a certain price. I can set it up to buy or sell at a certain time. I also have the option to, let's say I'm trading Apple. I have the option to buy or sell Apple based on the price of SPY inside of here. So depending on if you're somebody that likes to watch your indexes and what you're personally watching, like you're using something else as your stop, cool. This gives you the option to set that up. If you want to add a time to it, you're just going to click this next to the submit at. I typically don't use time. I want to say this is a 500 call. So I want to say if SPY ask is below or equal to 4.99. I'm gonna give it $1. I think SPY is at like 500. Yeah, 555. So I'm gonna give it $1.55 stop. But I'm also gonna add in that take profit. So when SPY's ask is greater than or equal to 501, 505. So now these are going to be the conditions. So what this says is it is going to automatically sell my 10 SPY contracts at whatever market price is if SPY falls below 4.99 or goes above 505. Check all your details a second time. You can read through this at the bottom. Go through save. We have not sent the order yet. We're going to make this a market order. You will click here where this says limit, make it market. And then we would hit confirm and send. Right now we can't, market's closed, so there's no order that's going through, but that's what it's going to look like. Or let's say we want to go to the buy side. Cool. If I want to buy, then I would just go back in and change the same conditions. Does Thinkorswim have trailing stop orders? Yes, it does have trailing stops. Trail stop is in your market order type. That's going to be here. You can use mark or bid because this is a buy order. And then you would just add or subtract whatever amount you want to put here for your trail stop. The next one, Mark asks, how about if you want to place an order based on an auto strata entry recommendation, and you also want to control the cost, especially if the spread is wide? I'm assuming all that can be done here. So, combination of things. So, based on the auto strata entry recommendation, what you would do is you would set your buy price based on the auto strata entry price. So I'm going to delete this. Cool. So now we just have a clean slate. And let me actually cancel this other one here so it's not still popping up. It's a very specific question, Mark. So just want to make sure that I hit all the details. Let me know if I miss anything. So again, I want to place an order based on an auto strata entry. So I pick the 505 for the end of the week. This is solid right here. I'm going to go to the wait condition. What I have to do is going to say if SPYs, ask price, bid price, mark, or whatever you choose to use, we'll use mark in this case. If SPYs mark is greater than or equal to, for your threshold, this is where you will type in the amount of the auto strike trigger. Let's say it's at 501.46. This is where you would type in 501.46 cents. You would save that. Then this is going to be turned into a wait order, but again, we need to use market. So I will go ahead, confirm that, and it's going to confirm for me here. This says I'm going to buy 10 SPY contracts at market to open when SPY's mark price is at or above 501.46. The second part of your question says, if you want to control the cost if the spread is wide, this is something that I want to say I'm specifically using a much smaller watch list when I am trading with these automated orders. These automated orders are not your friend if you are trading options, if you are trading stocks with very wide spreads. It is something that you can use, but you run a significantly larger risk of getting a bad entry because you may be able to set limits, but you're guessing at the limit with the automated order, trying to put it in ahead of time. So more often than not, when I'm using these orders, I'm trading it on very, very high volume. That way your spread is 5 or 10 cents. So worst case scenario, you're getting into a position down a few dollars instead of down 10, 15, 20% at the beginning. So just something that I really want everybody to keep in mind. A lot of what I'm showing here for the automated orders works best with very, very high volume. So your SPY, Qs, Apple, Nvidia, that kind of stuff. And also someone asked, any way to create a trailing stop based on OCO so it doesn't send the trailing stop until underlying hits certain price? Absolutely. So this is one of my favorite ways to use automated orders. Lately, I've been doing more swing trading, and I tend to not be as tight down to the penny on that. So on side, I'm going to go to sell. This is really good. I really, really like using trail stops a lot. So I can use a trail stop to activate later, but I'm not going to use single order. What I'm going to use is an OCO. So this says sell 10. On this side, I'm going to put my stop loss. So if SPY falls below, again, 499, cool. My stop loss, if SPY's mark is below, less than or equal to $499, it's going to go ahead and send this order. All right. I'll save that. I need to do a second one, though, specifically for the trail stop side. So this is a 505 call. I'm going to go in here again, and I'm going to click sell. You saw the second one popped up. Here's what we're going to do on this one. I'm going to go into the wait condition. I'm going to say if SPY's mark is greater than or equal to 504. I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to click into here. And I'm going to go to trail stop. And I'm going to leave this at 10 cents. So to read this entire thing out, let's say I'm in the 505 call for the end of the week. I have set up my stop loss so that way I'm going to sell at market value if SPY falls below 499, or if SPY hits my target at 504, it's not going to sell automatically. It is going to put a trail stop. So that way, if SPY blasts all the way up to 510, 520, 530, whatever, cool. I'll be able to stay in line with it. But if it blasts past my target and it immediately comes back, then it's going to put in a market order to go ahead and stop me out. So that way I get to keep my profit and I don't have to come back and check. Yeah, this in particular is how I use it the most. How I use the automated orders. I'll go in the day before. I'll use the option code to check and see where I think the option price is going to be. I also use the option code and analyze tab to check my risk to reward. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in orders, and I'll put in 3 orders. I'll put in my buy trigger or my open trigger, and then the other 2 orders for my stop and my trail stop. If it hits profit, I can put in all 3 orders at one time. So when market opens, everything is loaded up and I'm not trying to make any in-the-minute decisions while I'm in meetings or having other conversations or out at networking events or just doing daily life, and I can't sit at the computer for some of that time. Shadana asks, can you change the trailing stop amount while you're in the trade? Absolutely. I'll actually show you what that looks like. Confirm and send. This is going to show us what our order conditions and descriptions are. I'll go ahead and send it. Here's what you need to check for. This link tells me that these orders are connected. If I specifically want to change the trail stop side of the order, it's at 10. You want to change it to 5. I'll have to click here and I'll go to cancel and replace order. Drop it down to 5. Confirm and send. I need to go back and check again if they're still linked. Cool, that answers that question. So now it's instead of a 10-point trailing stop loss, it's 5 point. For the most part, that's a lot of what I really like to use it for. There was a gap on square to the downside that I have been looking for a trigger on for a little bit. Give me a second to pull it up so I can check time on it. So I'm going to go to charts. Really quick, this is what I meant earlier when we were going into appearance. This shows me the option order that I have in currently. This tells me everything that's in there. I click into it, it'll show me all of the details of that order right there, and it'll be on the chart. I want to go into SQ. This is the 5-minute chart. I want the day chart. Cool. So I'm going to click into here, going on drawing tools. It's a little sloppy because I didn't turn the magnet on, but there is a magnet option in Thinkorswim as well. But basically, we had a gap from there to there. I've been watching it for a little bit. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll play something if it taps down here. So we tapped it at some point, tapped it at some point. I'm like, okay. Got out to a smaller chart. What happened to it today? So I see came through it at what time is this? So at 8 o'clock. Specific use of the option code. I am going to check for what happened to the to the square contracts at 8 o'clock, the square put contracts. I'll go to trade. Say next week. Check 472. I'm going to copy. Gonna go to charts. And I'm gonna paste it. Now, all these little lines that you see are the option price. I'm sorry. Yeah, the option price for the 72 put for the 26th based on the 5-minute candle that it was connected to. You see it moved a little weird. This is one of those things where I'm like, okay, if I had never traded this before, I may not bother with it. Maybe I just don't like the way that it bounces around so much. Maybe that makes me uncomfortable. But this is the part where it using the option code just gives me the choice to see what it looks like. But now I wanted to see what happened at 8 o'clock. 7:45, 7:55, 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, it was at 140. Then if I follow that dip until I had basically good enough reason to exit based on whatever you consider that, I could have taken it up to about 227 before I had enough of a dip for me to decide or for my trail stop to be triggered. So let's say I would have put in that auto order right where the breach for that gap was. Cool. We're at 140. I take it up, I let it ride, and then let's say this is enough profit for you. You put in a trail stop, that 10-point, it came back down to 196. We'd have got stopped out here. Or if we let it go and then it hit our target up top, it would have stopped us out on that second one for that 10-point trail stop. So Just want to give a little more application on that side. In TradingView, we have the option to have multiple charts up at once. Thinkorswim does similar, but again, you would have to customize each chart using the 3 lines. It can be helpful, but it gets a little old sometimes, particularly if you're trying to use a single screen. So just some things to keep in mind. Using flexible grids, you do have that option, but completely up to you how you choose to set it up, what you want to get rid of. And then these are those corporate actions that I was talking about that we'll be able to hide from the chart if you choose. And you can hide these lines for months and sessions and things like that. With Thinkorswim, because the tool as a whole has so many different things that you can use, finding out how you want to use it and keeping yourself from getting overwhelmed is really important. So just showing you some of the tools that I use, some of the things that are available to you here. You don't have to use all of them or any of them. Just giving you options for how to play.